Welcome to Fulfilling This Belly Sting. A show dedicated to aligning a journey to a better mental health using the understandings of the ancient Norse. Join us each weekday morning at 7 a.m. Alaska time. Someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering, a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them. Look at that.
Good morning and happy Wotan's Day to you. I hope this week is going amazing for you and that you're gathering all the energy that you need to heal, to grow, to evolve to your next destiny, whatever that happens to be. Today we're talking about the experiences, the growth, and certainly the wisdom of the All-Father Wotan. Now, many know that today, of course, is Wotan's Day. Wotan would be the earlier recognition of the god Wotan. Wotan comes from the Germanic tribes before they migrated north, where he would become recognized as Wotan. Wotan has many legends around him, starting from the days when he was first recognized, or really comes to the documentation there in the Germanic tribes in what is today Germany. We later go on to recognize his abundance of searching and knowledge to grow, to experience life. But we'll talk a little bit about him in just a minute. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to all of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed. If you haven't had a chance yet, please like, follow, subscribe. Hit all the buttons with whatever platform you're watching us this morning on, and or whether you're listening later to the audio podcasts that are available wherever you get your podcasts. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to my friends and my family, whom I would be lost without, and that is my friends and family at the New Reality TV. Newrealitytv.com is a streaming channel dedicated to perspectives of views, of experiences throughout our spiritual understanding that helps us to really grasp something that resonates with us and helps us to grow and evolve to our next level of evolution, whatever that happens to be. For those of you who may have a few extra coins jingling around the pocket, feel free to hit our tip jar. Tip jar is located at either pay.akoutlaw.com or akoutlaw.live. So either of those sites, you can donate coins that we can then use to support our mission, whether it be electronic and or in travel and in person. Finally, before we get started, I just want to call out my website, norsewhispers.com. There you can find all the information about me, my message, my teachings, my shows, and certainly a way to get a hold of me that we can open a dialogue and help if you need it to kind of just help you to obtain or maintain your mental space. So please feel free to check that site out and reach out to me if you feel you need someone to talk to. This morning, our live chat is on Facebook, as TikTok is offline this morning, so I apologize for those of you who normally follow me during TikTok. So, today we're talking about Othin. Well, we're talking about Wotan, who would go on to become recognized as Othin later in the limited documentation that we find. Certainly, as the Norse became who they were and recognized that way. But one of the many legends and lore about Othin would be his visit to the Well of Urd. Now, my great-grandparents spoke of this very fondly, this memory of Othin visiting the well, as they kind of learned so much about who we were, how we were connected, how we all interacted with every living thing that's ever been. And the way they explained it is, within the legends and understandings of the Norse, there was a center tree of life. We're going to find this idea kind of across many different beliefs, but there was a center tree of life, and in the Norse legends, it was referred to as Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil was the center tree where all 9 realms existed, from Helheim down at the roots to Asgard at the top, with Midgard somewhere in between there, with the realms of giants and elves, and all the many realms all existed within Yggdrasil. And when my grandparents explained it, they spoke about each of us, every living thing, being a leaf on the tree called Yggdrasil. And we were connected through this center stream of energy that moved from the crown all the way to our root chakra. This was our stem. And our stem would go up out of us into a branch of Yggdrasil. When we have our experiences, when we go through our lives and we're experiencing different things and we're having different emotional states, and that's going to alter this energy, that we're going to then interchange over this stem into the branch on Yggdrasil. Then that experience, which includes imagery, which includes emotional, which includes intellectual information within that particle of energy, is going to go up through the branches, all the way back to the trunk, down the trunk to the roots. Now at the roots are reaching out from the base or the trunk of Yggdrasil into 3 main wells. One of these wells was the Well of Urd. The Well of Urd was guarded by the 3 Norse sisters. Urd being the eldest, Skald being the middle, and Verdandi being the youngest. The 3 sisters guarded the well, for they knew, like all the deities knew, that within the water of the well, because the root of Yggdrasil was in the water, all of our experiences are reflected in the water. Okay, so all of them, everyone's experiences was reflected in the water, and thereby offering us the opportunity of every living thing's experiences to be gained. Now, in the legend of Othin and the Well of Urd, you can't just go drink from the well. It's the well of the Norse sisters. So Othin made a deal with the Norse sisters that he would donate a physical eye that he may drink from this well. The Norse sisters accepted, and this is why today many represent Othin as having a patch over one eye. He has a patch over one eye because he donated that eye that he may drink from the well. Now, what does drinking from the well mean? What does it do? Well, if I were to say I drink the reflections of all of life's experiences, and I drink from the cup, I'm gaining all of those experiences through my taste buds, right? They're all coming in. And they'll be processed. Now, in Othin's case, we read in, certainly in my family stories, that he would sleep for 9 days and 9 nights following the drink from the well, that he may process all of this, right? What are they? Well, if you think about all of those experiences being second-hand experiences, i.e., someone else lived it, and now we're simply observing it or learning from it, right? Othin was drinking from everyone's experience, everyone who's ever lived or ever will live. All of their experiences are contained within the Well of Erd. Okay, so he would drink 9 days and 9 nights. He built this matrix of sorts in his mind of all of these experiences. Now, we can think of Othin's drink from the Well of Erd in much the same way that we could consider listening to the elders speak of our history, of our growth, of their experiences, right? So it's the same thing. Othin would take these experiences via the mouth as he drank the water, right? We would then absorb the experiences of our elders through our ears, right? So we're hearing these stories, and I'm imagining, if you're anything like me, as these elders tell the tales of history, we're going to get imagery that's going to come into our brain. Our imagination is going to kind of fill in some of the blanks where we're hearing the stories, and now our imagination is going to pull from our memory, and it's going to populate it with imagery within our mind. And so the elders are retelling the stories of history and a past. And what are we going to do? We're going to sit there, if you're anything like me, and just listen and absorb these experiences. And what we're doing the same thing, right? So we're using our physical sensory input to draw in experiences that then help us to build wisdom. Now, Othin would drink from this well in an expectation of building his wisdom. Well, how do you get wisdom out of a well? Well, you don't. What you do get is experiences. Now, we've said before, and we'll say again, we have knowledge, these little knowledge stacks all around in our brain, and we know different things, right? And it's as we gain the experiences that we begin to interrelate these knowledge stacks that we have in our brain all together, right? And so in much the same way that Othin would drink from the well, and he would gain these secondhand experiences, which would then help him interrelate knowledge stacks within the mind, building this kind of raised level of intellect or knowledge. It's just this higher level of interrelated knowledge. And that's really what we're talking about here, is we're talking about interrelating all the different knowledge stacks that we have all together to help us build this thing called wisdom. Othin would draw on the experiences of a whole realm of people and animals and plants, and every life form is connected to Yggdrasil. And that connection allows for the feeding of our experience, of our interpretation of an experience, allows us to feed that into Yggdrasil, where others may draw upon it as an experience. All right? This is a wonderful tale of gaining a level of knowledge to build this thing called wisdom that then allows us to now be more in charge of driving where we're going. What's our destiny? Or what is our current path? What are we doing? So, wisdom allows us to see that from many different perspectives, and it allows us to change our perspectives. That's the greatest thing that wisdom gives us, is the ability now, because of the interrelativity to these other knowledge stacks, we have the ability to now change our perspective. What's changing our perspective doing? Well, think about yourself, and you're walking down the street, and a boulder falls in the sidewalk in front of you, and now it blocks your forward momentum. Well, if we're kind of our blinders on and we're not able to shift our perspective, we're going to see the obstacle as an obstacle, right? But it's when we begin to change our perspective that we can see that there is still life on the other side of the rock. There is still experiences to be had around the rock. And so we begin to change our perspective, to look around the rock, look over the rock. Well, probably not going to look under the rock unless you got a shovel, but you're going to kind of change your perspective to look around the rock. This is changing our perspectives with life. Obstacles are going to come into our lives, and it is our wisdom that allows us then to shift our perspective and to see around this current obstacle, right? Or if we're going to have to surmount this obstacle to continue on with our journey, all right? Now, in some cases, these obstacles will come into our lives for a different reason. They may come into our lives to direct us to change. These are what I call 2x4 moments. In the book, The Turn of Final, I speak about these life-changing moments that we will have in our lifetime that just alter our trajectory greatly. A self-reveal is in 1989. I would overdose on heroin, and I teetered on living and dying, and out-of-body experience where I was able to see my existence at that point, and really realized that there were some things horribly wrong, horribly unwanted, not wrong, horribly unwanted in my life, and I needed to change. 7 months to the day almost, I met and married my shield maiden, whom we have now actually here coming up pretty soon. We celebrate 35 years of marital connectivity and growth and evolution between us. So we see that had I just surrendered there in the covert in Tucson, Arizona, and just succumbed to this not even need, but this destiny of or this path of death, instead I chose to alter my path. This is what I refer to in many of my books and certainly the television shows as being a 2x4 moment. It's when the spiritual realm makes sets up a situation in which case I have it's going to shock me, if you will, into altering my trajectory. Okay. Another 2x4 moment for me, as an example, was when I discovered my great-grandparents, my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother. Just by having this connection, I was able to kind of alter my life again, in a much greater understanding to find answers that work for me. All right. So these 2x4 moments are going to occur in our lives. So that's another reason we're going to have these obstacles. But again, it's not until we're willing to change perspectives can we see the other path. This leads us to the discussion we had the other day where we talked about having a understanding that we had to be here to get to where we are today. To be able to see this path now, this path change, I had to travel this path. And now I can see this path change, and now I can make that change. All right. So these are part of our lives. This is part of the experiences that we're gaining living a physical life. All right. We're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you, or I'd like to talk to you about using your own wisdom to change your perspective and actually look at things from a very different way. This kind of has a cyclic effect, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So we'll be right back, where we'll talk about how you can use wisdom to get to where you want to be.
In the air. The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me.
It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
newrealitytv.com.
Thank you so much for taking that real quick break with us. I am so honored to be part of the New Reality family. Wonderful collection of perspectives that I hope can help create some resonance within you that just helps you to obtain or maintain your mental space. All right, so we've been talking about our quest for wisdom and how our quest for wisdom offers us the opportunity to change our perspective. Well, how do we do that? Well, firstly, we have to open ourselves to a change. Now, how do we do that? Well, instead of always thinking we're so right and everything has to be this way, what if it doesn't? What if we look at our lives experience and start thinking, well, maybe, what if this thing over here happens? What if I change my mind? What if I have a different energy that I'm feeling, a different influential energy that's kind of nudging me this path, this other path? A new job, maybe going back to school, learn a new career, maybe a new friend, maybe a new hiking path, whatever it is. Sometimes change is really good. Many people fear change. Why? They fear the unknown. They fear that dark energy that surrounds change. Dark energy, of course, being simply unilluminated. We simply don't know, right? We oftentimes we hear of people who at their job, maybe they get a new job, right? So instead of doing this all the time, now they're doing this over here. Still the same job, and they still same pay and all that, but now we're doing this. And we fear change. Inadvertently or intrinsically, we have this concern because there's a bunch of unknowns about this new job position, right? So will I do a good job? Will I actually fulfill the mission? Will I do what I need to do? And it's only by living it do we gain the experience that provides the illumination, right? Or, you can pray. Praying is another great way for the deities to say, hey, look, the last person who did this other job, they had contentment in the position. They were content, or they were happy, or whatever, and it was something that changed in their path that led them to a different path, which now created the opening for you to be in that path. So change is not bad. Change is actually, it's never bad, really. It's a learning experience. It's all part of the experiences that we're gaining through a physical lifetime. So it's very important that we embrace this idea that change is not bad. Change is, there's nothing to fear. If we are getting a new job, as an example, what have you done? You're going to do your research, right? You're going to do, probably go out on the internet, and you're going to figure out, well, what kind of environment is it? What exact tasks will I be, and do I have the knowledge for those tasks? You may bone up on some tasks that are associated with this new job. All of these things we're going to do as a preliminary moving into the position. What's this doing? It's illuminating the dark energy. Well, I know how to do this, right? So I can do this. I can do this position. Why? Because I have the wisdom of being able to change my perspective. All right. So the idea here, when we talk about changing our perspective, is firstly talking about not always having to be right. Opening ourselves up. Saying, what else is out there? What else in the vastness? This is why I'm always surprised when people come to me and they say, well, this religion or that religion or this spiritual understanding or that spiritual understanding, this has to be right over here. This one little box has to be right. And I asked them, well, how is it that something so infinite as spirituality is going to be confined in one box? Why? How can this be? If we're only going to look at our spiritual growth and our spiritual path from one very narrow path, we're not seeing all of reality. We're not seeing all of spirituality. We're only seeing a very small fraction. But think about the deities as being infinite. Do we really know what infinite means? Well, infinite doesn't mean it's one big guy with one this or one that and only one way to salvation. That's not infinite. That's not infinity. That's a very narrow perspective of our spiritual path, of our spiritual journey. Very much the same way with everything in our lives. These experiences come in, and it is our job then to respond to them accordingly. This is what we speak of, or you will hear spoken of, when you talk about the legends of the Norse sisters who are sewing Verdandi, the baby, the youngest, I should say, of the three. Verdandi is sewing a tapestry of our lives, of our responses. She's not doing this tapestry that displays all of our conquests and all of our victories. No, that's not what she does. Her tapestry shows our emotional responses to the events and experiences that we have. That's what's sewn on the tapestry. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that that's important, right? Our conquests and our victories and everything that we do and everything that we accumulate in this physical realm is not as important as how we respond intrinsically. So, it's just something to think about. Again, when we take our blinders off and we're willing to kind of check out other perspectives, we're gaining wisdom. Wisdom allows us to interrelate all these knowledge stacks in our brain and allows us to have a bigger perspective, a bigger view, because we're willing to look outside of what we've known and now begin to ask the question of what could be. It's a great way to live our lives as to what could be, right? So very positive and very powerful motivator to move us through this physical life to our destiny. All right. So today we celebrate the god Odin, and we celebrate his quest. And the All-Father was always on the lookout for more and more experiences that he could then convert into wisdom, just like you. Mugden and Hugden, his ravens, would scour the earth looking for experiences that they would bring back to Odin, and again provide him with these experiences to help him build the wisdom. So it was all very important part of his existence, and it should be a part of our existence every day, using that model as kind of our path forward. So take a cue and go and experience our lives and compress those experiences into our memories, that we may build this wisdom. All right? We will see you again tomorrow morning for as we celebrate and embrace Thor. This week, as you know, Friday being, or Freya's Day being the 4th of July, which I think is so appropriate. Anyway, we will be on the air for the Freya's Day, so be sure to check out Freya's Day, Thor's Day. And then tonight we'll have Sporksmall, where we'll be answering a question that you've asked through email or through our online chat, whichever. And hopefully we can get you an answer that will resonate with you and help you to obtain or maintain your mental space. Again, it's all us. We can do this. You can do this. Don't let influential energies take away from the greatness that you are, right? You are special. You can do this, all right? So I look forward to seeing you later this week. And in the meantime, I wish you the absolute best. Wotan's Day. We will see you again tomorrow.
Watching Fulfillina's Belly Snake, a special production of Whispers of the Norse. Brought to you by the Alaska Ulf Hefnar in South Central Alaska. Guidance and wisdom, courtesy of an ancient Celtic Norse shaman. Thank you so much for joining us today.